Hello everyone, welcome back to another wonderful live stream. We finally have a ceasefire in Gaza, alhamdulillah, finally. After 15 months of all of this genocide and destruction, a ceasefire has been confirmed today by Qatar, and then we also had confirmations from Hamas and from Israel too. And in this live stream, I'm going to be talking to you about the most important statement when it comes to the ceasefire agreement, when it will take effect, the stages, what's next. And also I will be sharing the vibes apparently from Gaza, how people are celebrating and happy about the ceasefire, alongside of course opening the space up for the community afterwards to participate with any questions or comments. I'm going to start off with the videos. We had a lot of videos being published from Gaza, people celebrating, happy that there is a ceasefire declared. There are a couple of more videos that I wanted to share with you coming from Gaza, just live right now. Also celebrations from Lebanon as well. These are the scenes from Lebanon. Again, scenes from Lebanon, and I'll share with you a couple of more videos coming from Gaza. Of course, not only the people, but the healthcare staff as well from Gaza celebrating the ceasefire as well. And there were also more videos coming from Gaza. There was this woman who had a very interesting statement that I also wanted to share with you.
وحنجيب الركاب وحنبني وحنعمر وحترجع غزة أحلى من قبل. في طفلة، بنت شهيد، في أختها، في ختان، في شاب، كلنا حنعمرها وحترجع أحلى من قبل. غزة فينا، إحنا اللي صبرنا وإحنا اللي صبرنا. ولا إنجازات لأي حدا، ولا لأي قيادة، ولا لأي كبير، ولا أي دولة. الإنجاز هنا. هذا الإنجاز أنا وهي ونفتخر إنه إحنا اللي أنجزنا، إنه صبرنا.
Again, more videos coming from Gaza about people celebrating. And it wasn't only the people, by the way, it was also the Al-Qassam brigades. We have women here. Also, even though the ceasefire, and I'm going to talk about all of the details about the ceasefire, it's going to be starting technically on Sunday. However, even the Palestinian, well, of course, the Palestinian children as well are celebrating too. Also, aid coming in. We had hundreds of aid trucks immediately coming in. Although again, that was supposed to be, according to reports, to take place after the ceasefire starts to get implemented on Sunday. But clearly, there were prerequisites coming from Hamas that certain things need to be done, but they weren't published before. And these were images of the trucks getting into Gaza non-stop earlier on.
الشاحنات ما زالت تدخل منذ تقريبا ربع ساعة وشحنيات بتخش شحنيات مغلقة زي هيك بصرش وضحها على UN.
So the people are reporting hundreds of trucks are going in one after one in Gaza, but it wasn't only the Gazan people. Of course, there was also the Palestinian resistance already in the streets, ladies and gentlemen. So there were multiple videos of Al-Qassam brigades publicly in the open, not hiding or anything. There was another video here.
الله ينصرك كمان حدش يتكلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. إن في الميدان قادم نواجه رسائل العدو. نحن في الميدان وستوقف الغالب. الله ينصرك كمان حدش يتكلم.
So these were the Palestinian resistance fighters already in the streets as well, not just, of course, the Palestinian people. There was another video published here. And that's the final video that I'll share with you before we go into the details. So now to the details. So of course the Palestinian people are celebrating, happy, full of joy that we finally have a ceasefire. The details of the ceasefire. In short, before I go into the statements that were made by primarily the acting head of the Palestinian Hamas movement, Khalil al-Hayya, the political bureau leader, acting leader, because they have a group of leaders at the moment, and Mohammed al-Sinwar, the brother of Yahya al-Sinwar, is leading now the movement in Gaza as well. There was a declaration coming from Qatar. Qatar, they declared that they reached a ceasefire agreement and that they will be implementing this ceasefire agreement starting from Sunday. What time on Sunday? Reports said midday, but the Qataris said that the hour will be confirmed later on, very shortly on Sunday. However, clearly there are certain things already happening from now when it comes to the ceasefire, like the aid going in. And I mean, the fact that the Palestinian armed resistance is in the open, not hiding from anything really. There was a report coming from Egypt that Israel will be releasing in the first phase. And again, we're talking about phases 1, 2, and 3. On day 16th, there will be negotiations about phases 2 and 3. It could be shortened to only phase 2, by the way. There's a lot of pressure in Israel to get it over and done with. Many people, especially the families of the Israeli prisoners of war in Gaza, saying get all of them out and get a deal out. Don't risk keeping people in because we don't want people to die. However, it appears that this time that's it. It's serious. It's confirmed. However, Netanyahu still wanted to do it in 2 knocks, and the Palestinian resistance already confirmed that they're happy to have it in multiple phases, although Hamas told them from day one, we're willing to have an agreement now and stop everything after they start Al-Aqsa flood and have a prisoner release. Details that we have so far that were published from Egypt. Israel will be releasing in the first phase of the ceasefire that will be taking place for 42 days, 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, including 250 with world sentences, life sentences, excuse me, meaning people who have like hundreds or thousands of years in Israeli prisons. Also, approximately 10,000 from the prisoners who were imprisoned after the 7th of October. Israel will allow the travel of the wounded from Gaza to be treated abroad in the first phase. Israel agreed on opening the Rafah crossing 7 days after the beginning of the implementation of phase 1, and Egypt already confirmed that the majority of the Israeli forces have retreated or withdrew from the Philadelphia corridor altogether. That's been confirmed by Egypt. There is a humanitarian relief protocol that is connected with the first phase that will include the delivery of 600 aid trucks a day to Gaza. The statement of the mediators, Qatar, Egypt, and the United States of America, is the statement that will confirm how the phases will be connected. It's expected for the ceasefire implementation to begin 2 to 3 days. We heard reports that it's going to be on Sunday, potentially midday. The agreement confirms that Qatar and Egypt will be overseeing the return of the Palestinians who were displaced from their homes in the north to the north from the south, basically going up north. Qatar and Egypt will be overseeing that. The Israeli forces, the genocide forces in Gaza, will be gradually reducing their presence in the Philadelphia axis. However, again, we confirmed that Egypt said, Egyptian sources, that majority of them already left, and then they will completely withdraw from it altogether in multiple phases. The withdrawal from the Netzarim line will happen also in phases. These are 2 places that Netanyahu said he will never accept to withdraw from. People need to remember that. And he also said they will not be allowing people to go back to the north. This is a massive, massive blow for Israel and a massive victory for the Palestinian people and the Palestinian resistance. Hamas asked the mediators to confirm the area that Israel will be retreating to or withdrawing to based on schedules. The Israeli army will be withdrawing in the first phase to the borders of Gaza with a depth of 700 meters. Israel wanted 2 kilometers in the beginning. Hamas said 500. Israel said 1.5. Hamas said 500. Israel said 1,000. Hamas said 500. And then eventually they agreed on 700 meters. And then Hamas asked for maps that were clearly submitted. Then, during the first phase also, 33 Israelis will be released, dead and alive, according to previous reports. However, how will it look like? That will be confirmed later on. This is regarding the first phase. The second phase, the more significant stuff, the release of more and heavier prisoners. The heaviest Israeli prisoners, army commanders and stuff, will be in the final stage, basically. Israel completely withdrawing from Gaza, talks about rebuilding Gaza. and getting everything in. And the day after, that will be something that the Palestinian people will be decided, meaning that Hamas is there. You saw from the images, the Palestinian resistance fighters are in the streets already. No one is touching them. Okay, so the most significant thing that we want to read out, that I want to read out to all of you, is firstly the statement of the leading movement in all of this, Hamas, and the statement that came from the political bureau acting leader of Hamas, Khalil al-Hayya. Firstly, we had a statement from Hamas themselves saying that Hamas movement confirmed on Wednesday evening that a ceasefire agreement is the result of the legendary steadfastness of our great Palestinian people and our valiant resistance in the Gaza Strip over more than 15 months. They added the agreement to stop the aggression on Gaza is an achievement for our people, our resistance nation, and the free people of the world. It is a turning point in the conflict with the enemy on the path to achieving our people's goals in liberation and return. They stressed that the agreement comes from our responsibility towards our steadfast and patient people in the proud Gaza Strip to stop the Zionist aggression against them and put an end to the torrent of blood, massacres, and war of extermination to which they are being subjected. We express our appreciation and thanks for all the honorable, official, and popular positions that showed solidarity with Gaza, stood with our people, and contributed to exposing the occupation, stopping the aggression. Arab, Islamic, and international. Special thanks to the mediating brothers who made great efforts to reach this agreement, especially Qatar and Egypt. The Qatari Prime Minister also confirmed, Foreign Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani, that a deal has been made. That was before that, of course, the finishing statement of Hamas. And the Qatari Foreign Minister also stressed that the Qataris, Egyptians, and Americans will be ensuring the ceasefire implementation, and that this agreement is the first phase that will be lasting for 42 days, with the beginning of the talks on phases 2 and potentially 3 on day 16, including a confirmation in line with President Joe Biden's confirmation that this ceasefire is established upon, that there will be a ceasefire even if an agreement on phases 2 and 3 hasn't been reached. Saying that, the biggest and most important thing is that an agreement has been reached, and this is an indication that this will be going all out. And this is the understanding that we're getting from Israeli officials, from Hamas, and from everyone involved as well. That is the first part when it comes to the statement of Hamas. Now to the statement of Khalil al-Hayya. Khalil al-Hayya, the acting political bureau head of Hamas, he also made an important statement in which he described really everything. So I'm going to read the majority of it for you because it's very important to read all of it. Lots of important information, important bits to do with the ceasefire itself, what led to the ceasefire, who's involved, the messages that are coming from Hamas, including what Hamas would be looking for moving forward, what they will be doing. So Khalil al-Hayya said, "O honorable people of Gaza, people of martyrs, wounded, prisoners, and missing persons, you have kept your promise, been patient, and endured pains that no one has ever endured before you, and you have encountered what no one has encountered, and have fulfilled the trust properly, and you are worthy of it. So always give a moment of sacrifice and offer a moment of giving, and patient, and be patient in the places of patience, and strive in the places of struggle or jihad, and you have attained honor. May God make a great congratulations to all of you for your steadfastness, your struggle, your patience, your giving, and your sacrifices. Peace be upon you for your patience. What a great home we stand at this moment, and salute everyone, the martyrs, the children, women, elderly, scholars, fighters, doctors, media personnel, civil defense personnel, security personnel, and of course everyone involved. He continued, the greatest battle and cause is the battle to defend Jerusalem and Al-Aqsa in the Al-Aqsa flood. Greetings to everyone who remains steadfast. He continued and completed the path and carried the banner after them. And like every prophet, many people fought after them, but they did not weaken. Of course, read a couple of verses from the Quran. We stand before the martyrs' leaders whose limbs were scattered in this battle. Our martyred leader Ismail Haniyeh, Abu al-Abed, may God have mercy on him, and the martyred leader Yahya Sinwar, Abu Ibrahim, may God have mercy on him, and the martyred leader Sheikh Salih al-Aruri, may God have mercy on him, and the brothers of the political and military leadership of the movement in Gaza Strip, and the martyrs of all factions, the resistance factions, the people, and the fighters as well. We do not exclude any of them. And he continued that this is what we're doing is a trade with God that will never fail, and we will continue down the path of our martyr leaders, victory or martyrdom, God willing. And he sent also a message to the great people of the Arab Islamic nations and the free people of the world. That was the beginning statement from Khalil Hayy, the acting head of the political bureau of Hamas. He continued to the more important bits as well, saying that the battle of the flood of Al-Aqsa represented an important turning point in the history of our cause and the stages of resistance of our great people. The effects of this battle will continue and will not stop, God willing, with the end of this battle. What happened on October the 7th, a miracle, a military achievement, and a security accomplishment carried out by the elite of the Al-Qassam brigades, will remain a source of pride for our people and our resistance passed down from generation to generation. It has struck a fatal blow to the enemy's entity, and our people will regain all their rights, God willing, and the occupation will be removed from our land, our Jerusalem, and our holy sites soon, God willing. What the occupation its supporters did in terms of brutal war of extermination, Nazi crimes and hostility over the course of 467 days will remain engraved in the memory of our people and the world forever as the worst genocide in the modern era, with all types of pain, torment, and suffering, which will remain a stain of shame on the forehead of humanity and the silent, indifferent world, and will never go away. Our people forget all those who participated, will not forget those who participated in the war of extermination, whether those who provide political media cover for it, or those who provided thousands of tons of bombs of explosive that were dropped on the heads of our people, sons, daughters, and children of the Gaza Strip. We affirm that all of these criminals will receive punishment. They came and did after a while, and despite the horrors and hardships of our people have been exposed to, which make children's hair turn white, according to him, we hold our heads high with the resistance, and we are proud of our heroes and resistors and their patient people. Our enemy will not see a moment. Our enemy will not see a moment of weakness or defeat from us. Here we say, in the name of the orphans, children, and widows, in the name of the owners of destroyed homes, the martyrs, the wounded, and the bereaved, in the name of everyone, victims, in the name of every drop of blood that was shed, in the name of every tear and pain and oppression, we say in their name that we will not forget and we will not forgive. Yes, we will not forget and we will not forgive. None of us, nor among us, would squander the right to all this pain and sacrifice. Our great people, our Arab Islamic nation, the free people of the world. Since the beginning of the aggression, the occupation has tried to achieve many goals. Some of them were announced and others were hidden. They said, frankly, they seek to end the resistance, eliminate the Hamas movement, recover the prisoners by military force, and change the face of the region. While their hidden goal was to liquidate the Palestinian cause, destroy the Gaza Strip, take revenge on its people, displace them, and eliminate the will of our people. With freedom and the destruction of all meanings of hope and the end of the effects of the glorious flood on October the 7th, but the criminal occupation clashed with the steadfastness of our people and their adherence to their land, so it failed to achieve any of its secret or declared goals. Our people remained steadfast in their land, so they did not leave or immigrate, and it was the solid shield for its resistance. And the resistance fighters, the sons of Al-Qassam brigades, and with them their brothers, they absorbed it. From the resistance factions are those heroes who amazed the entire world with their heroism and exceptional operations, and continue until the last moment of this war to resist with honor and morals in defense and attack, and carried out qualitative operations with audacity the world has never seen the likes of, and with an unparalleled bravery, as they planted explosive devices, launched shells, set up ambushes, and fought from point zero, heating up in the enemy, even turned the occupation's vehicles into charred coffins. They were with all the resistance fighters from the heroic resistance factions, and we especially mentioned the sons of Al-Quds brigades, brothers in path, faith, heroism, and weapons in the Islamic jihad. They were a model for a fighter. The free fidaiyin, or the people who kind of sacrificed themselves, sold their souls cheaply for the sake of God and for the sake of their homeland and in defense of their people. Al-Hayya continued in his statement, today we prove that the occupation has not and will not be defeated, has not and will not defeat us or our people and their resistance, thanks to God and his support. It has only achieved destruction, devastation, massacres against our people. It has not taken prisoners except by agreement with the resistance to stop the war and aggression and a deal. Exchange of honor. So we say it with all confidence and certainty that the steadfastness of our people, their great sacrifices and the bravery of the resistance have aborted and foiled the declared and hidden goals of the occupation in this war. And the will of our people is still free, proud, and pure, untainted by any blemish of cowardice or weakness. Rather, it remained honorable and lofty until the last moment, thanks to God who supported us, or supported you, our people. Al-Hayya continued, with this victory and with the faithful, our loyal and generous people, as we announce reaching an agreement to stop the war and aggression today, we remember with all the words thanks and gratitude everyone who stood with us, our people, and our resistance in the difficult moments. And to mention here in particular the brothers in the support fronts in brotherly Lebanon, where the brothers in Hezbollah who presented hundreds of martyrs from leaders and mujahideen on the road to Jerusalem, headed by His Eminent Secretary General Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah and his brothers in leadership, as well as our brothers in the Islamic group, in Lebanon, who also fought next to Hezbollah, and what the Lebanese people presented in terms of resistance, great sacrifices, and great patience in defense and support of our Palestinian people. And they have done well. They turned the life of the occupation into hell and displacement in a scene of solidarity and support that embodies the brotherhood of Islam and Arabism. We also remember the brothers in Yemen, Ansarullah, the brothers of truth, who transcended the geographical dimensions and changed the equation of war and the region, and launched missiles and drones at the heart of the entity and besieged it in the Red Sea. We also remember the brothers in the Islamic Republic, the Iranian resistance that supported our resistance and our people and engaged in the battle and destroyed the heart of the entity with Operations True Promise 1 and 2, and the Iraqi resistance that penetrated all obstacles, contributing to supporting Palestine, its resistance and its missiles and marches reached our occupied land as well as our people. And our revolutionary youth and heroic mujahideen in the blessed West Bank. And here we especially mention our heroic mujahideen in the camp of the steadfastness and heroism, the Jenin camp in Jerusalem and the occupied 1948 territories, and to the people in exile and diaspora, the Arab and Islamic people, who also express our deep thanks and appreciation to the brotherly mediators in Qatar and the dear state of Qatar and the dear Republic of Egypt, who made strenuous efforts and multiple rounds of negotiations since the first day of the aggression to reach this moment, the moment of stopping the aggression and the war of extermination against our people. We also remember the bright positions of the countries that stood with us in various fields, especially our brothers in Turkey, South Africa, Algeria, Russia, China, Malaysia, Indonesia, and all the countries that took honorable positions. Who stand for Palestinian rights and the oppressed and subjugated in Gaza. We also remember and thank the free people of the world and everyone who stood with us with words, pens, voices, pictures, marches, demonstrations, the weapon of boycott, political, diplomatic, and legal effort, and raised their voices against the oppression and injustice against the level of the region and the world. Those free people who broke the conspiracy of silence and exposed the crimes of the occupation against humanity and Gaza, in Gaza, and realized the truth of the scene. He ended with a couple of statements primarily for Gaza, saying, "Oh, great people of Gaza, we are now facing a stage which is new to our proud Gaza, which is the stage of construction, consolation, removing the effects of aggression and reconstruction, the stage of solidarity and sympathy through which we confirm to the world that we are the people, free people who build and do not destroy and reconstruct what the occupation has destroyed. Just as you were men in the war, you will be men, God willing, after the war, as we have known you. We are facing the stage of mercy. So we will speak first, and with the help of our brothers, siblings, and supporters, we will rebuild Gaza again, alleviate the pain, heal the wounds, stroke the heads of the orphans, and stop all of the effects of the war. Tears of the bereaved, and we also will end that and also put a smile on the lips of the people who had the war stealing their home, as the prisoners and the heroes have an appointment with the dawn of freedom." He ended, "God willing, we will continue our efforts with our brothers in all of the Palestinian forces and factions to build and strengthen our national unity and build. And we will continue to until we achieve our national goals. And in conclusion, this battle that began for the sake of Jerusalem and Jerusalem al-Aqsa will remain our compass and the title of our struggle and resistance until liberation and establishment of the independent state with Jerusalem as its capital, God willing. Greetings, all greetings to the righteous martyrs and to the wounded, to the victims, the bereaved, the valiant prisoners in the prison who are waiting for the dawn of freedom, which is coming with the cessation of the aggression, God willing. And also greetings to everyone who stood and showed solidarity with us and stood us with blood, stance, and word. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you." This was the statement coming from the acting political bureau head of Hamas, Khalil al-Hayy. Now, moving on to the implementation. The implementation is due to take place on Sunday. We haven't had a confirmation yet about the hour of Sunday when it will be released. We had also a confirmation coming from Israel that they will be releasing thousands also of prisoners in the first phase. We're still not talking about the second phase. And if we're talking about 2,000 in the beginning, there's a very high likelihood that we are talking about the majority, if not all, the Palestinian prisoners. Also, people are criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. Why are they criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu? Because he did not have an official statement. He just had a word being released thanking Donald Trump. Thanking Donald Trump after he basically threatened him with Steve Witkoff that he needs to get this deal sorted, the same deal that Joe Biden had on the table. Meaning Benjamin Netanyahu agreed to a deal that he could agree to half a year ago. Now the talks in Israel are about the government. What are the key figures in Benjamin Netanyahu's government going to do? Ben Gvir and Smotrich. There are reports that they both of them might be resigning. Ben Gvir called Smotrich to side with him and resign, to apply more pressure, saying that my party only, we can't resign by ourselves, we need to apply more pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu. However, there's one thing here. The polls show that these people are losing in any election, so this is the best thing that they can ever have. Smotrich said, we will wait up until we see how the ceasefire agreement ends. Will we return to the war or will we not? And then we will make a decision. Meaning they can buy Benjamin Netanyahu a bit more time. However, Benjamin Netanyahu is clearly not relying on them. That's something we've been saying from the beginning. Netanyahu won't accept a ceasefire unless he agreed or guaranteed the day after for himself. He did that. He firstly had more Saar joining his cabinet. He has a safety net from the opposition, and he has people in line who would be willing to go into the government up until the next elections due in 2026. So he's buying himself 1.5 years. Secondly, well, it's not only that now for Benjamin Netanyahu. Now people are going to talk about the failure, about an inquiry, who's responsible, why were the soldiers killed and sent to war if you ended up with a ceasefire that you could achieve before. Still pressure on him that he didn't accept a full agreement that will release all of the Israeli prisoners of war immediately and release all of the Palestinian prisoners all at once, and risk keeping them there for a longer period and potentially having them, who knows what can happen? Maybe they can be killed or something. All of these questions are very important. Another big question for Netanyahu is what's going to happen with his status internationally. Benjamin Netanyahu is a person who's running away from justice. Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant, they are wanted war criminals. The ICC cases haven't dropped. Has he been promised something by the United States of America in return? When it comes to the agreement, although the confirmations that came from the United States administration initially said that, no, Benjamin Netanyahu, we disagree with all of this talk of the Hague and whatever. They even have the Hague Invasion Act, right? If the International Criminal Court, if they arrest an American or an ally of the United States, that the US can use actual force against them. But there could be something here that would be in the benefit of Benjamin Netanyahu that we haven't really reached yet. So these were the main thick lines when it comes to the ceasefire. More details are being published. Of course, we'll speak about them as and when. Now it's about, of course, waiting for the implementation, which is due to take place on Sunday. However, it could be there earlier. And then the implementation, as and when, who's going to be released, what's going to happen. And then the important bit is going to happen 2 weeks into the ceasefire agreement, when Israel and Hamas will have to sit down and agree on the next points. But again, when it comes to the ceasefire agreement, the fact that we already had ceasefire declaration, the ceasefire that Benjamin Netanyahu always rejected. Benjamin Netanyahu's declared objectives of the war were firstly eliminating the Hamas. Not only did Benjamin Netanyahu did not eliminate the Hamas, Hamas emerged victorious with the Palestinian resistance and the Palestinian people, and they recruited global people globally supporting them and the Palestinian cause as well, because they saw the true face of Israel. Israel had and faced a strategic loss that it will never be able to recover from. And this battle is a battle that is a part of a chain towards the path of completely dismantling Israel as an apartheid entity. Israel will not be able to recover from this. Whether they have a ceasefire, have a different type of escalation, they will not be recovering from this, because they always thrived in the dark, and now they have been exposed forever to everyone. So the action will continue up until ultimately all of the rights of the Palestinian people will be achieved. And these were the main things that I wanted to share with you. Now I'll open the space up for you for any comments and questions with the limited time we have. If you wouldn't mind, if you have any questions, of course, for me, if you wouldn't mind like highlighting them with like a red emoji or something, just so I can see them and we don't miss a lot of questions. And before that, thank you very much to Linda Lincoln. He said, thank you for your consistent and honest reporting to the horrors of Palestine we face. We appreciate everything you do and to keep us up to speed. And thank you, my dear. And Inat, thank you. And Michael Keith. And he also said, I want to give you the props. You're always right when you talk about this issue, more so than anyone I listen to. Thank you so much, my brother. And Michael McIntyre, thank you very much. Alan Marwin as well said, what a beautiful moment for the steadfast people of Gaza and a victory for the entire resistance to the Zionist entity and all the resistance movements anywhere in the world. Amen, my brother. And also my friend Chocolate Pudding from Lebanon. Thank you very much for that and for your kind said meet. Alf Mabruk. So 100,000 congratulations to the most honorable people on earth. Auto translator here. So much love from Lebanon and Juni. Much love back, my friend, to you and Juni and everyone in Lebanon. We're all one and we're refusing justice against anyone, especially children. Very, very, very accurate. Thank you so much, my brother, and thank you for all of your kind support and comments. Stephen Kelly, what date or time does aid reach Gaza? It's already started reaching. If you in the beginning of this live stream, I shared some videos about the initial responses coming from the people of Gaza and them celebrating, and people recorded dozens of trucks, lines of trucks that they did not see the end of, starting to get into Gaza. And what I mentioned when I showed that video is, although the implementation of the aid getting in is supposed to start taking effect from when the ceasefire begins, that was clearly a prerequisite from Hamas that hasn't been published, because many things haven't been published when it comes to the ceasefire talks to make them successful. Because if they would have been published, that would have been they could have had a negative consequence on either party, really. So even from the Palestinian side, they did not publish a lot of information that was to their benefit. And from Israel's side, they did not publish a lot of it because it would be to their disadvantage. And you also said, will the genocide continue until Sunday? Well, the fact that unfortunately the declaration states Sunday, that means technically, unless there's something we haven't understood, there could be more people, unfortunately, being martyred up until Sunday. We've heard reports about attacks. So the Sunday is the official day of implementation when it comes to the genocide. And Khalid Razak, thank you very much, brother. Said, thank you, Mahmoud. You've kept us on going through. Shukran, akhi. Thank you so much, my brother. Barakallahu feekum. And let's go to your next question. And Brian Quinn, thank you so much, my friend. Now, okay, Stephen, also interesting. You're adding in interesting things. Will Iran be restrained from attacking Israel? Listen, when Iran wasn't responding and when the ceasefire in Lebanon started, I said a couple of things. Iran could be using its lack of response to use it as leverage to reach a ceasefire, because all of these things are connected. The Palestinian resistance and people, first and foremost. Secondly, the supporting fronts, including Iran. Then, of course, the trade, the economy, Israel's situation globally, the boycotts, the economic impact. All of these things are connected. The international developments, the regional developments too. Clearly, that has worked. So that means Iran has achieved something diplomatically without doing true promise 3. And also, another thing I said when it comes to Hezbollah at the time, they did not say that one of the conditions was to have a ceasefire with Gaza. However, that was something that was clearly not published. And here we go. We have a ceasefire in Gaza within the 60-day time frame of the ceasefire with Lebanon. Meaning, Hezbollah were true to their word up until the last second. So when people were already criticizing them and you betrayed and you this and that, some people have the audacity to say these things, they were clearly honest. And it was indeed tied. Now, of course, you need to add the pressure that's coming from the US, and you need to add a couple of other things too. Although, again, these things could be an act and all of this could be agreed upon before, and, they're just selling it in this package now, right, to make it go through. But fact of the matter is we have a ceasefire. So will Iran have the same urge to respond? No, they wouldn't have the same urge to respond. Will that affect their credibility and level of deterrence against Israel? I don't think so. That's a personal opinion. I don't think so. Usually it's a tit for tat. You attack, I attack, you set a precedent. But Israel, by now, they know the firepower of Iran. They know Iran can destroy them. And Israel also knows that Iran can defend itself. And not only that Iran can defend itself, Iran has increased its capabilities of self-defense All of that is very significant. So we might see True Promise 3 being put on hold, or we could see something very limited. However, I think that they will be putting True Promise 3 on hold. Francis, sorry if you said it before, but is it a temporary ceasefire or permanent? This is the beginning of a permanent ceasefire. This is the first phase of a permanent ceasefire. The reason we haven't had a ceasefire so far since the temporary ceasefire a year ago was the fact that Hamas rejected outright any other temporary ceasefire because they didn't want to put the Palestinian people in the same position they were in before, where Israel could say, oh, cool, temporary ceasefire ended. I'm going to go back and start killing children again. No, they did not want that. So this ceasefire is permanent. It's a multi-phased ceasefire, and it will be starting the implementation when, according to reports on Sunday, but other reports said maybe 1 to 2 days as well. And James, sometimes you're also saying, as talking about Iran, and will they stand down? I hope I clarified that with my answer to Stephen Kelly, where I personally, that's my opinion. I think Iran put True Promise 3 now on hold, so long as the ceasefire persists, and so long that Israel withdraws from Lebanon in the next 10 to 12 days, because that would be the deadline, basically. And Mr. Sulaiman, thank you as well for your super. Said, Salam Mahmoud, do you think Hamas will fight for statehood with this hostage trade ceasefire? That's interesting. The thing with regards to the statehood, that was something that was being spoken about. However, we really did not hear a lot of details about it. The only thing that we heard details about is when Joe Biden back in April told Benjamin Netanyahu, you have an offer on the table, full peace with Saudi Arabia and even recognition from other Arab states too, in return for having a Palestinian state. That's in accordance to the peace proposal that Saudi Arabia gave Israel in 2000. But at the time, the former Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon tore it down, threw it in the bin. Netanyahu said, we won't be accepting that. We won't be accepting what he labels as a terrorist state next to them. Have there been talks that the public hasn't been aware about potentially having a Palestinian state on the 1967 borders? Maybe. But again, Hamas, they only said before, although unlike, of course, the PA led by Mahmoud Abbas, who again don't represent the majority of the Palestinian people, Hamas at one point said, well, they offered Israel, their late spiritual leader, Sheikh Ahmad Yassin, he proposed Israel back in the 90s with a long-term hudna. He said, call it hudna as in a ceasefire, 40-year ceasefire, he told them. No problems, no this, no that. Then Hamas also refined their position from, we will only accept the one state. That's after the passing of the late Ahmad Yassin. They said, we're willing to temporarily accept a state on the 1967 borders, so long as it's in the entirety of the 1967 borders, not the areas that Israel, took by force, of course, occupied. Now we have 900,000 settlers, illegal squatters in the West Bank. But we will not be recognizing Israel's legitimacy over the whole country. Israel again rejected that, or the consensus in Israel about rejecting a Palestinian state. However, was there an agreement that, again, to sell that to the Israeli public and for the people to accept it, you have to kind of give it to them with drips, right? Like they started giving the people drips of the ceasefire, even with the right-wing media in Israel. If that's the case, that could be something. But I personally don't think so. I think Israel is too arrogant, really, to have a two-state solution. It's not there. It hasn't been. Israel hasn't been installed there by the British Empire, and then later under the patronship of the United States administration as the leading superpower of the world, to be a peaceful country coexisting in harmony with its neighbors. There were prospects of that potentially in the 90s, but they killed the Israeli prime minister who was striving for peace, Rabin. Who killed him? The deep state in Israel, most likely supported by the United States. Why? Because who are we going to sell weapons to? Who are you going to murder people with? What do you mean peace? We don't want peace. That's why there are people in Israel, very few, who know that the United States of America is Israel's biggest enemy by supporting them the way they do, instead of actually, well, fading away from all of that. Okay, you had this colonial history, change path now, look at what's best for the Israeli people and also the Palestinian people, of course, and move on. No, they don't want that, because it's made there to be an entity that is a cash cow for the military-industrial complex. And HS also said Israel will lie about the ceasefire. Again, we will wait and see, of course, when it comes to the lies. And thank you for that. Miss Cheeky 007, thank you so much as well. Let's go to Wendy Gofton. Will Western press be allowed into Gaza? Yeah, I think that they will be allowed, because if the Rafah crossing is open, well, lots of media used to come from Rafah before. Western media was asking to go into Gaza all this time. Israel prevented them. They only gave them these Ziowood propaganda tours on military vehicles to spread their propaganda. They didn't let them go on that. But we didn't need journalists from the West in Gaza. The people were documenting everything. And there were brave, heroic journalists. Some of them, many of them lost their lives. 200 lost their lives, more than all of the journalists killed in World War II. And again, not enough is being spoken about them. So the people who were live streaming everything, whether they were there or not, it wouldn't have made a big difference, to be honest with you. But I think following this, I believe that there will be an option for Western media to go in, and also hopefully volunteers. I'm sure many people would like to volunteer and go physically, help, either the rebuild campaigns, help with children, or, orphans, the displaced. There's a lot of things, people can help with, but that would be primarily from the Egyptian side. I highly doubt that there's going to be any sort of leniency from Israel when it comes to their side of the borders. Samba boy, Mahmoud, do you know if the resistance has a plan to, in case the occupation forces don't follow the broker deal, special leadership assassinations like in Lebanon? I mean, look, a resistance that has shown you levels of heroism that no one showed us in history. In history, by the way. In history, no one showed us what the Palestinian resistance showed us in the past 15 months. Anyone, give me an example. I challenge anyone to give me an example of something like this. The greatest people you hear about in the history books, not to that level. So if they had a plan to fight and be victorious over these depraved child killers for the past 15 months, they have a plan B if Israel breaks the ceasefire. And let's go. Aisha Mukhtar, we don't know the Israelis have been promised. Some saying it's the West Bank. I'll tell you what I think if Israel was promised the West Bank. First and foremost, no one has the right to promise Israel anything. Israel is a foreign occupying apartheid entity planted there by colonial powers. They're a foreign body. They're not an authentic body. Their whole existence is based on a pseudo-history, pseudo-narrative with people who faked their identity and created this facade of Israel and the Israeli nationality. Then, so no one has the right. That's firstly. Secondly, let's say Donald Trump said, Israel, fine, you can annex the West Bank. What would that mean? Well, the Palestinians in the West Bank, they would have a bigger case against Israel to receive equal rights. Is Israel willing to give equal rights to the Palestinian people of the West Bank? That's something that's described as a horror scenario by many Zionists in Israel, who are not right-wing, by the way, and who claim that the right-wing is leading us to a dual national state, which is their nightmare. For some reason, a dual national state is their nightmare. Why? Because they don't want to give democratic rights to the populations in Gaza and the West Bank. Why? Because the shape of the country will change. If you have democratic votes, democratic elections, genuine equality between the Jordan River to the sea, do you think Israel will remain in the shape that it is? Of course it won't. It will not be continuing the shape that it is. So if they want to promise that, and if Netanyahu would be stupid enough to go ahead with it, he will be firstly receiving a lot of objection from Zionists who view things differently. Secondly, that would give the Palestinians more cause. They wouldn't be asking for statehood now. They would be asking for equal rights. They would tell you, where are my equal rights, right? Palestinian citizens of 1948 occupied territories are asking for that, aren't they? Israel claims that they have full rights and full democracy, in complete contradiction, because Israel labels itself as the nation state of the Jewish people solely. That's law, came in the late 2010s. So that would be very problematic for them, and they would need to make very big calculations. As a matter of fact, Hillary Clinton warned Israel. They said either you give the Palestinian people a state, or you will, at the end of the day, lose your identity as a Jewish state. Although we all know this Jewish state thing is a facade, by the way. Zionism and Judaism are the biggest contradiction in history. Zionism is the worst thing that happened to the Jewish people in history. Worse than Germany, worse than anything you can imagine. And Yvonne, thank you very much for your kind comment, and everyone else as well. Let's see if we have any more. Stephen, will Hamas soldiers now be hiding in the bunkers or enemy lines? Well, I showed videos of them roaming in the streets of Gaza. Do you want me to show you again? Hold on a second. There you go. That's Hamas now. So they're already in Gaza. They're roaming around freely. Again, was there a prerequisite from Hamas that they cannot be targeted in the ceasefire or something? Maybe. Because don't forget, Hamas will hold marches and military parades in Gaza when there's a ceasefire. And Lydia is also asking if he will annex the West Bank and Gaza. Some are saying this probability. Gaza, no way. Gaza is the rock that will never be beaten. There was an article in Israel. There was a columnist in Israel, very well-known one. He said, we can expand as much as we want. We can occupy and go and try and invade, but we will never defeat Gaza. Gaza is a solid rock that's made of material that cannot be defeated. It's different. That's why I ridiculed Netanyahu and Israel from day one when they said that we're going to eliminate the Hamas. He ended up eliminating himself. Teshikoma said, I heard that Trump will let diapers continue the genocide if diapers decide to continue. That is not entirely correct. I'll tell you what the reports are saying. The reports are saying in Israel, again unverified, because then we will have to see how things are. Israel, if it sees a threat from Gaza, it would be able to have targeted attacks in Gaza, not in the case of full-scale war, but targeted attacks in Gaza, or maybe attack a tunnel, or do this and that in Gaza. Well, that means the Palestinian resistance can strike them with a couple of missiles too. What do you think? It's one-sided? Israel agrees to the Hamas have launched missiles with genocide. With 15 months of genocide, they've been launching missiles from Beit Hanun, an area that Israel destroyed in October 2023. So if Israel wants to attack, they will be getting an attack as well. It's not in their interest. But everyone swallowed the pill by now in Israel. They know very well Hamas is there to stay. The Palestinian resistance is there to stay. And they won't be defeated. And they will be getting stronger as well. Israel wants the solution? Perfect. The solution is very easy. Equal rights between the Jordan River to the sea. You won't have armed resistance. You won't have Hamas. You won't have nothing. Hamas and the resistance to Israel is a symptom or an antidote to a disease and a virus called Zionism. Zionism is what must be eliminated and wiped off the earth and be illegalized. That's what people should be talking about. So if they want to, act arrogant, they will have people to return them a favor. Stephen, are Zio tank soldiers, etc., now withdrawing from Gaza? Yes. No, they'll start to withdraw now, not just from Sunday. Even though technically it should be from Sunday, but clearly there was like a prerequisite. Egypt confirmed most of the forces already withdrew from the Philadelphia corridor. Most of them. So they're already withdrawing now, and it looks like hundreds of aid trucks were already going in from the videos that I published earlier on as well, coming from Gaza. Mind over matter, do you think if the ceasefire holds, Ansarullah and Hezbollah will stand down because the main reason of them attacking Israel is because of their genocide in Gaza? Yes, I believe so. I believe that we will stop the attacks. First of all, Lebanon, we have a ceasefire that's due to be continued. Israel will have to now withdraw from the remaining parts of South Lebanon. And Ansarullah will stop, because they said end the genocide and lift the siege. And indeed, these two will be the siege has to be lifted, because that's it. Aid is going to get in and everything. But however, listen, some agreements that they don't speak about them. Like there could be many benefits that haven't been published simply for Israel to save face. And from a Palestinian side, they don't mind having them declared just to kind of let the get them basically without saying that they have received them. But I believe if this holds, we're headed towards a de-escalation. Karen, do you think the war crimes will be exposed for those, and those culpable actually be held to account? The war crimes have already been exposed to everyone on earth, and those culpable actually be held to account. So many countries across the world are now chasing the genocide soldiers, and don't be surprised if people start doing stuff or whatever. That's the thing. They're using any action against them now across the world. They're known and their images are known. Israel is trying very hard to hide their identities, and the prime minister is wanted. I hope that we will see a day where we will see them being brought to account on this earth. Because in the hereafter, I'm fine. I know. We know very well what's coming for them. But here on earth, we hope we see the day with them. Saying that there are many war criminals walking freely and giving lectures globally, right? Much bigger than Netanyahu. Netanyahu is a small corner shop in comparison to the massive supermarkets of terror in other countries who killed millions of people and roaming around freely. Let's not forget that. Amir Alavi, if Israel regime broke the ceasefire, then Iran starts True Promise 3. If Israel breaks the ceasefire in a significant manner, it's a possibility, although currently seems unlikely. Then Iran would have a much bigger excuse to have True Promise 3. Yes, I believe so. And don't forget the looming threat of True Promise 3. And those hypersonic missiles landing on the heads of the child killer bases in Israel are embedded in the heads of the Zionist leaders and the population too. They know what Iran is capable of. See if we have Stephen Kelly about what about mental health support and treatment for the Gaza children people? Very interesting and very important question. The people in Gaza, Professor Gabor Mate, a Holocaust survivor who was a staunch anti-Zionist, by the way, spoke with one of his children once on a podcast, Daniel Mate. If you can go to my podcast and watch it. He said that back in 2005, the children of Gaza, if I remember correctly, had the biggest rate of trauma in children across the whole world. That's in 2005. We didn't even have the wars in 2008, 2012, 2014, and the Gaza genocide. You need an army of doctors and, mental health support for them. And there are people. I mean, Turkey said they will be focusing a lot on that when it comes to mental health. And there will be lots of doctors who are volunteers to go into Gaza now, hopefully once the restrictions are lifted on people entering. And hopefully many would be able to go abroad for treatment. And don't forget, there will be internal campaigns too. Because although Israel killed approximately 1,000 healthcare workers in Gaza, there are still many who will continue the treatment and the healing as well. Dylan is asking if the ceasefire deal is available to the public. If so, unfortunately not. There is no draft available to the public with all of the details. There are only brief, thick lines when it comes to the ceasefire that I spoke about in the beginning. But they did not get into details. And I mentioned before that we might see that to protect the ceasefire agreement, you don't give in all of the details, because then they would be out for scrutiny, unnecessary pressure, and they could fail. And even from the side who's benefiting, it wouldn't be at their benefit to publish them and then not have them because of a problem. And from Israel's side, at least more people don't know. So unfortunately, we don't have that yet. If they do, then of course I will talk about them. And Johaleb, why? Thank you very much, and everyone else. Sorry if I'm unable to read through all of the comments. Let's see if we have any more. Kudampuli Fewi. Hi, Mahmoud. Do you think that over the time the right of the return will also be possible for the Palestinians living abroad? The return of the Palestinian people who were expelled from their homes by the Zionist terrorist gangs in 1948 and 1967 will return to Palestine. It's only a matter of time. And of course, the human nature is always in a rush, in a hurry, to get all of the results immediately, quickly. That's not how things work. However, the more time goes by, the closer we are of seeing the dawn end, and we see the actual morning coming for a liberated Palestine and the people returning. That's something that no one has the right to tell the Palestinian people who are expelled from their homes that you cannot return just because some thugs came and said that this has been promised to me by someone, therefore I'm going to kick you out. It's not how it works, unfortunately. And the rights of people who continue to ask for them, they will always be achieved so long as the people keep fighting for them. It's as if it's a natural thing. People who can constantly talk about their rights and fight to get them, they will eventually get them. No empire stays powerful. No state remains powerful. And we have only seen an elevation when it comes to the Palestinian cause and a decline when it comes to Israel. Kimberly Jones, what about the Palestinian Authority? Will they stop? Well, the resistance in Jenin, they declared yesterday, thank you for your question, that they actually reached an agreement with the Palestinian Authority to end the hostilities, a deal that has been brokered by committees of resolution. They have like committees that do resolutions, dispute resolutions between people that are made out of, certain people in society that have their weight, both with the authority and with the resistance. So they said that they decided to end the hostilities. And I think also the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, they realized that it would be difficult to hide how shameful they are, killing their own people and outright declaring shamelessly that they will not fight the occupation in the West Bank. Plus, it's an unelected authority at the end of the day. If you talk about Hamas in Gaza, Hamas won democratic elections. And they, of course, put their foot down when there were coup attempts against them. But the Palestinian president, is someone elected him? No one elected him. He has people who don't like him from within. But of course, they're there to serve the people who put them there after the Oslo Accords. Stephen Kelly, what role does Egypt have over the ceasefire? A great role, a very important role Egypt has over the ceasefire. Egypt is not only a mediator, but a country that has borders with Gaza and with Israel. And Egypt played a massive part. And the biggest part that I believe Egypt has done as a state was the fact that they did not allow Israel to complete its ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza. Of course, there's a lot of criticism, not about Egypt only, but about all of the Arab states and their lack of action in the face of the genocide. However, when it comes to the early days when Israel was applying pressure and international countries on Egypt to completely open the borders so the Palestinian people can flee and have a mass exodus that would have made Israel's plans much quicker in ethnically cleansing Gaza, Egypt stood, and Egypt deployed forces in Sinai, and they did not submit. And they also took the side of the Palestinian resistance when it comes to the Philadelphia corridor. Israel at one point said that they are, Smotrich said they are to blame for the 7th of October for allowing all of these weapons to Gaza. Why did Netanyahu call the Philadelphia corridor the southern border of the axis of evil? Why? Because he knows the majority of everything smuggled to Gaza comes from that border. People can act like it's not a thing. Egyptians can deny as much as possible. Everyone who knows. That's the lifeline. Apart from the fact, of course, that the Palestinians, develop their own things to a very large extent. So they played a very big part. And Jay, thank you so much. Stephen Kelly, yes, aid trucks are going into Gaza. You asked if they're going from the Egyptian side, the aid trucks. I don't know where they were coming from, to be fair. I only saw a video of an influx. They could have been going in either from Rafah, but that's unlikely because it's still not open yet. Most likely from one of the Israeli occupying areas. So either Kisufim or Kerem Shalom, they call it Karm Abu Salem, to the southern eastern part of Gaza that has a border with Egypt and Egypt, Gaza, and Israel too. Could be from that, but to be fair, that video they did not describe exactly where they were coming in from. Think before you type. Israel, with an entire Western backing of advanced weapons and money, can't defeat a small militia group. How embarrassing is that? Totally. Absolutely. Stephen, did you think the ceasefire will truly last? It appears to be, from my observation, And I have been observing that it does look serious, and I do think that it has a very high potential of lasting. Cookie dough, will Ansarullah stop, or have they already stopped their support front for Palestine? They were launching missiles yesterday, saying that in support for the Palestinian negotiator, we're launching a missile, or 2 or 5. I haven't heard anything today. However, it looks like they might pause from now. But they have an excuse to continue, because technically haven't got in, and there have been confirmed attacks, because don't forget, don't get your hopes up for everything to end up until it's taking effect, right? And that date was set to be Sunday. However, it could be earlier. So they have an excuse to still attack. I haven't heard personally about anything that happened today. Okay, TMZBGD. Do you think they'll respect the ceasefire, or will it be like Lebanon? And does this mean more aid can get into Gaza? I'll start with the second one. Yes, it means more aid can get into Gaza. It's already getting in. And it will be more than what used to get in on a daily basis before the 6th of October. Then do you think they'll respect the ceasefire? Will it be like Lebanon? Israelis themselves confirm, the Americans confirm, that Hamas were very tough negotiators, and that they would not have accepted the ceasefire so long as it doesn't confirm the ending of the hostilities and eventually reaching an end to the war. So for people who are expecting this to be a replica of Lebanon, I can tell you, I can safely say that it doesn't appear to be that way. It is very unlikely for it to be that way. You know, it can't be conclusive, but it's very unlikely. The reason that Hamas have, and in Lebanon, Hezbollah openly declared it's a temporary ceasefire. And Israel used the side document they had with the US to conduct these attacks. In Gaza, there's no side document. And also, we've already had a temporary ceasefire. This is a permanent ceasefire. It's unlikely. And what's happening with Lebanon will eventually stop as well. Most likely after the 60 days. And despite all of the talk from Israel, because, you know, they can talk a lot, you know. And Palestine will set us all free. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And also, TMZBGD asked about what does this mean for True Promise 3? Will Iran retaliate? Will also Houthi ceasefire? Yeah, we spoke about Iran. I personally said that the Iranians will put it on hold because they would have been achieving diplomatic things that they wanted to achieve through these ceasefires. The president of Iran said if Israel stops killing children, we might consider the level of response, although he still said that they will respond. However, I personally think that they will put it on hold for now. It doesn't mean it's never coming, right? But I highly doubt that they will do it if there is actual de-escalation and ceasefire. And Houthis will stop once it's implemented. Once the ceasefire starts to get implemented. Stephen Kelly, is Hezbollah going to stay silent, or are they waiting to see if Israel break it? Hezbollah told Israel, you are breaching now. They only sent them a warning with one attack. Israel continued to breach the ceasefire. However, Hezbollah told them, day 61 will be different than day 60. That means if day 61 comes and Israel hasn't withdrawn from Lebanon and they are still attacking, Hezbollah are at liberty to go back to 1 or 2 days prior the temporary ceasefire implementation in Lebanon, which was 400 to 500 projectiles on central Israel. Does Israel want that? No, they don't want that. And that appears to be it. We'll wrap it up there. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for another live stream. Thank you for everyone who participated, shared all of your comments and kind support as well. Apologies, of course, if I haven't reached all of them due to the time limit. Thank you for everyone who sent supers. HS Shark Love said, you have been an incredible source of non-biased news to all this. Please keep the videos coming. I will, hopefully, my friend, inshallah. It's been a daily dose of hope for many of us. I hopefully will remain here. Thank you so much, my friend, and all of you as well. Everyone who sent supers, much appreciated. That would be Chocolate Pudding, Linda Lincoln, Inat, Michael Keith, Michael McIntyre, Alan, Marwin, Khalid Razak, Mr. Sulaiman 19, HS, Miss Chicky J, Palestine, HS again. Yep. Hey, and thank you so much for your support. Much appreciated. I'll hopefully have a segment after this for you. Probably a video at some point later on or tomorrow as well. In the meantime, everyone, and I'll hopefully have a bit more live streams as well, depending on availability. In the meantime, everyone, stay blessed, take care, and free Palestine. Peace, everyone.